Listen to me for a second. I know you almost skipped this. I know your thumb hovered over the screen because a part of you feels tired of hearing the same old motivational talk that never seems to stick. But something in you paused. That quiet part of you that's still hoping, still hurting, still wondering if you actually matter. And I want you to know right now, before anything else, that you do. You matter more than you realize. There are days you wake up and feel small, like the world is too loud and you're just background noise in someone else's highlight reel. You scroll and you see people winning, smiling, living lives that look easier, brighter, more successful than yours, and a voice in your head whispers, "Why not me?" That voice doesn't shout. It creeps in. It shows up when you're alone. Late at night. When the room is quiet and your thoughts get loud. It tells you that you're behind. That you wasted time. That you missed your chance. That you're not enough. And maybe you've been carrying that weight for so long that it feels normal now. Maybe you've learned how to smile while that voice is tearing you down inside. Maybe you've become really good at pretending you're okay. I've been there. I've sat in my car in a parking lot long after the engine was off, just staring at the dashboard because I didn't feel ready to walk back into my life. I've looked in the mirror and felt disappointed in the person looking back at me. I've replayed old mistakes like they were movies on repeat, wondering how different my life could have been if I had just been braver, smarter, stronger. I've felt the shame of not living up to my own expectations. I've felt the fear of trying again because failing one more time felt unbearable. And the hardest part wasn't failing. The hardest part was starting to believe that I deserved to fail. That I wasn't meant for more. That maybe other people were born with something special that I just didn't have. But here's what no one tells you. That voice in your head isn't the truth. It's just a story you learned. A story you picked up from moments when you were ignored, rejected, laughed at, compared, or made to feel small. It's a story that grew louder every time something didn't work out. Every time someone walked away. Every time you tried and didn't get the result you wanted. And over time, that story started to feel like your identity. You didn't just think you failed. You started to think you were a failure. You didn't just make mistakes. You started to think you were a mistake. And that's the lie that keeps people stuck. Not the failure. Not the setback. The belief that those things define your worth. Let me ask you something real. Who taught you that your value is based on how much you achieve? Who convinced you that you only matter when you're winning? When you're productive? When you're impressive? When you're strong all the time? Because that's not how worth works. Your worth was never something you had to earn. You didn't have to prove it when you were a kid. You didn't have to hit a milestone to deserve love. You didn't have to be perfect to belong. Somewhere along the way, you started tying your value to results. To money. To titles. To other people's approval. And now every setback feels personal. Every slow season feels like a verdict on who you are. Every quiet moment feels like proof that you're invisible. But you are not invisible. You are a human being in progress. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to start late. You are allowed to mess up and still be worthy of respect, love, and opportunity. Think about how hard you've been on yourself. Think about the names you've called yourself in your own head. Lazy. Weak. Behind. Not good enough. Now imagine someone you love hearing those same words about themselves. Would you agree with them? Would you tell them to give up? Or would you remind them of how far they've come, of the battles they've survived, of the strength it took just to still be here? Why do you give other people grace but deny it to yourself? Why do you believe in everyone else's potential but doubt your own? You've survived things that could have broken you. You've carried pain that no one ever saw. You've kept going on days when quitting felt easier. That counts. That matters. Even if no one applauded. Even if no one noticed. There is strength in staying. There is courage in trying again after disappointment. There is power in choosing not to give up on yourself, even when you don't feel confident, even when you feel tired, even when you don't see the results yet. Confidence isn't loud. Sometimes confidence is just getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it's sending the application even when you're scared you won't get the call back. Sometimes it's setting a boundary even when you're afraid of losing someone. Sometimes it's choosing to speak kindly to yourself when you've spent years tearing yourself down. You don't have to suddenly believe you're amazing. You don't have to wake up one day feeling fearless. You just have to be willing to stop treating yourself like the enemy. You just have to be willing to believe that your story isn't over yet. That who you are right now is not the final version of you. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. Healing isn't clean or predictable. There will be days you feel strong and days you feel like you're back at the beginning. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. It means you're learning. It means you're stretching into something new. Stop measuring your life by someone else's timeline. Stop judging your chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 20. Stop waiting until you feel worthy to take the next step. Worthiness isn't something you arrive at. It's something you decide. You decide to treat yourself with respect. You decide to take your own dreams seriously. You decide that your voice matters. You decide that your past does not disqualify your future. And I know there's a part of you that's scared to believe this because believing in your worth means you can't hide behind the idea that you're not meant for more. It means you might have to try again. It means you might have to risk being seen. Risk failing. Risk being judged. But here's the truth. Staying where you are because it feels safer is slowly breaking your spirit. Playing small to avoid disappointment is costing you your life. Not all at once, but little by little. In missed chances. In quiet regrets. In dreams you stop talking about because you're tired of feeling foolish for wanting more. You don't have to prove anything to the world. But you owe yourself the chance to become who you know you could be. Not perfect. Not fearless. Just honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what hurts. Honest about the fact that you deserve a life that doesn't feel like survival mode all the time. Look at yourself with softer eyes. Speak to yourself like someone you're trying to protect, not someone you're trying to punish. When you mess up, learn. When you fall behind, breathe. When you doubt yourself, remind yourself of the times you kept going anyway. Build your life one small brave choice at a time. One boundary. One honest conversation. One step forward even when your hands are shaking. You are not here by accident. Your story matters. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. Even on days you feel ordinary. Even on days you feel invisible. Even on days you feel like you're failing at everything. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to believe in your worth even when the world hasn't reflected it back to you yet. So here's what I want you to do when this ends. I want you to pause. Take one deep breath. And say this out loud, even if your voice shakes. I am allowed to take my life seriously. I am allowed to believe I matter. I am allowed to become more than my past. Then take one small action today that honors that truth. One email. One step outside. One honest moment with yourself. Because believing in your worth isn't about feeling confident all the time. It's about choosing not to abandon yourself when things get hard. It's about standing by your own side. Again and again. Until one day you look back and realize the person you needed most was you, and you finally showed up.